Hey, y'all. Welcome back to the Yes We Can podcast. I'm excited you're here today to watch. We're live on Instagram for the first time. So, those of you on Instagram, insert your questions or anywhere we are live. If you have any questions or comments, please comment. Today's guest is a very special woman that I met through our widows group here in St. Louis. We are a part of Never Alone Widows, which is a Christian organization that is nationwide. And does have local chapters in 90 different cities. So this woman has been through a lot. She's an amazing woman. She's a young widow, like me and so many others. And she's here to share her story. And today's topic is a sensitive one. So we want to make sure before we begin our discussion that everyone knows that we are very sensitive to this topic and want to be just upfront that it is going to be maybe hard to hear at some point. And for those of you that are struggling, we just want you to know we're here for support. And yeah. So Kristin Hyman, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming. I appreciate you saying yes.
Yeah. And I do want to preface and continue on your conversation with the trigger warning because we are talking about suicide today. And my husband's suicide. So for anybody that needs to take a minute, you should take a minute.
Yeah. Right.
Come back later and rewatch it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can also list resources after the show for suicide prevention and help and all sorts of things. So, Kristin, why don't we go ahead and introduce yourself? Let us know where you're from, who you are.
Okay.
Get us going.
Well, I'm 41, so I am young. I'm a mother of 4 children. Mm-hmm. They're 14, 12, 10, and 8. A girl, boy, girl, boy. My husband died by suicide a year and a half ago at the end of September. I'm a stay-at-home mom. I like to run. I really like to read. And I really love being Catholic. I grew up in Minnesota.
Where in Minnesota?
Southwest of Minneapolis in Chanhassen.
Okay.
Where Prince is from.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, down the street from me.
Fun fact, you learn something new every day.
I worked at a grocery store in high school called Byerly's. If anybody's from that area, they know it's like a really fancy grocery store. And I had to wear like black pants to work and things that. And I worked overnights from 11 p.m. to 7 a.m. one summer. And Prince came in and shopped 2 times. And we weren't supposed to make eye contact with him.
Oh, seriously? Why not?
Because it was like in the rules. He didn't want the attention. But he was so little, like he could fit in my pocket.
Stop.
And there was one time I was stocking the candy by my cash register and he walked past me and I just stared at him. And then he just kind of looked at me. Oh, that was pretty neat.
That is neat.
I was born in St. Louis, though. My parents grew up here. My mom is one of 13. And then I grew up in the Skinker to Bolivar area, and my dad is one of 3 boys and grew up in South St. Louis. So I lived in South St. Louis till I was 4. My dad worked in sales, and so we traveled around the country as he got promoted. So I spent my childhood moving every year and a half, 2 years. And then we wound up in Minnesota when I was 11.
I was going to ask, where's your Minnesotan accent?
I don't have it, but my sister does.
Does she?
She's gonna, oh, yeah.
Is she older or younger?
She's younger than me.
Well,
I'm the oldest in my family.
That makes sense.
I've got a brother who is 39 and lives in Queens now.
Oh.
He left right after college and then fell in love with my sister-in-law. We knew he wasn't coming back.
Oh, that happens. So I have family. My mom is from Winona, and my parents met at Winona State.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah.
So do you go back there?
A little bit. She's buried there. So my mom passed away in 2013. So we've been back a couple times, and I still have family there. But I just have really fond memories of going up as a kid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like July and August is the best.
Yeah. It was fun. Oh. So anyway, okay. So where did you meet your husband? At what point, where'd you meet your husband?
Zach and I met in Joplin, Missouri. Southwest of the state. When we lived there, my dad worked for Pillsbury, and so he was on the Walmart account, and my parents found out they had to go move to Bentonville, but my mom didn't want to live in Arkansas at the time because Bentonville is gorgeous now. It's like a wonderful place to be, but back then there wasn't much there. So they like drew a circle around Bentonville that was a 1-hour commute, and Joplin was in there. So we moved to Joplin, and my mom met Zach's mom at the gym. They'd see each other, and at school mass, we all went to the same Catholic school. They met each other, became friends. Then they introduced their husbands, and they became friends, which is rare, you know, to have couples meet. And so our families just became friends for the 2 years that we lived there. We'd like carve pumpkins together. And
Oh my gosh, how old were you guys?
I was 8. I was in 3rd grade.
You met your husband when you were 8?
Yes, and Zach was in 5th grade. And I always say I fell in love with him across the lunchroom.
Oh my gosh. If that's not adorable.
Right? So that we kept moving, and our parents stayed in touch, and I always kind of knew of Zach, and I knew he went to Mizzou, and I knew he moved to California.
How much older was he than you?
2 years.
Okay.
I never spoke to him, though, because I was so painfully shy.
Oh
Like,
my
I
gosh,
was
that's
always known for just
adorable.
like reading my book in the corner
Yeah.
my whole childhood. So we reconnected when I was a senior in college because I knew he had moved to LA and I wanted to get out of town. So I came to St. Louis University for school so that I could be close to family, but still be away from home in Minnesota. You know, it was like a safe place to be. And I knew I wanted to move to California. So I called him or Facebook messaged him. And then we started talking on the phone. And I just remember we had like 1 hour conversation when I was a senior. And I was like, boy, he talks really fast. And,
He talks fast.
I was like,
He's
I can't
excited.
believe I just talked to my crush, you know, after all this time. And by then I'd come out of my shell
Yeah.
full fledged.
Okay.
And then it wasn't till a year later when I was in California for work. I worked for a very small company making personalized T-shirts for fraternities and sororities.
Okay, fun.
And so I would go travel to all these little conferences and things like that. And I was down there for one of those. And he came and met me in Orange County at Sharky's. And we've been together ever since. Well, I mean,
Wow.
we were together ever since, I guess.
Yeah.
Isn't that funny?
So how old were you then?
23.
Okay.
23
he
and
was 25.
25.
Oh my goodness. So did you move to California?
I did.
You did. Did you move in with him or separate?
I did.
Okay. You just moved to Southern California.
Yeah. It was, I know one of my kids is going to pay me back for that choice
What?
at
You
one
moved,
point in my life.
you moved
Yes, I know.
to Southern California.
Yeah, I know. But to live in sin with your boyfriend and
And no one said you lived in sin with your boyfriend.
no.
And we can absolutely edit that part out.
Okay.
Right, Josh? Yeah. We'll edit that part out. No worries. Okay, so you moved to Southern California.
Yeah.
You
And worked. I moved without a job. And so I got a job at a gym, a 24-hour fitness, while I was applying to a lot of other places, and ended up getting a job at Sony Pictures Home Entertainment, where, you know, working in the marketing department for the DVDs and the Blu-rays. But it was so fun to live in LA at the time.
Oh, yeah. I lived in Northern California at the same time. We were in California at the same time because I'm
Yeah.
41.
Oh, yeah.
So we
you
were
are?
literally
Yeah.
so fun.
And I mean, we were poor, but what difference did it, you know, like,
Who isn't poor in their
I
20s in
know.
Southern California or Northern California?
and
for
I
that
was
matter.
always afraid that the big earthquake was just going to break California right off and send us out into the ocean. Like,
Didn't even bother me at all.
I was always worried about. But what was funny is I felt my first earthquake in St. Louis. Like there had been an earthquake
Yeah.
3 months before I had moved that woke me up in the middle of the night. So we got engaged in California, and I knew that once we were married, I wanted to be closer to family. So he got a job that transferred him to Dallas. Like he moved in September. We got married in October in St. Louis. So we met here and got married at College Church at SLU because I knew like that was my dream.
Yeah.
Actually, when I was little, I had opened up a calendar and picked out that I was going to get married on October 17th, 2009. And I only missed my wedding date by 1 day and 1 year. I got married on October 16th, 2010.
Come on. That is adorable.
And so after we got married, I came back to LA and packed us up to move to Dallas. And like he was in Dallas working. So we met up there and got pregnant with Meg right away. And then
How old? Oh, wait. Who did he work for?
HP. Well, not HP yet. We worked for like a advertising agency.
Okay. 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 All right. So you moved, and how old are you guys at this point?
26.
Okay.
Well, we moved when I was 25, but I had Meg when I was 26. And then once I was in like business development and marketing, but I always knew I wanted to be a stay-at-home mom. So when she turned 1, I started staying home. And we just, every 2 years, had another baby.
I love it.
Yeah.
Similar. We had kids 2 years and then 17 months, but wow. Okay.
Yeah. And in between my 3rd and my 4th is when we moved to St. Louis. So it got really hard in Dallas because we didn't have extended family. I had one aunt that lived there, but we knew, I was like, I wonder what could happen. So one day Zach came home and we were talking about how hot the real estate market was because 3 different businesses had moved their headquarters to Dallas from California because there's no income tax in Texas. So you move there from California, like flush with cash, feeling like a millionaire.
You're rolling.
And he just came home and said, I wonder what we could get for the house. And that was a conversation at the very beginning of April.
And how old were the kids at the time?
4, 2, and 9 months.
Oh, perfect timing.
So we had the realtor come, and within 3 weeks, our house was on the market. We had, 15 offers that first weekend. So we sold the house by the end of that weekend. The next weekend, we drove up here and looked at 30 houses. The house we ended up buying was the very first house that we bought. Like
that you looked at?
Yeah, she was amazing.
Yeah.
Our realtor. She was like, you guys need to see this house. So that was it. And then we moved. And within 8 weeks of having that initial conversation, we had relocated. And Zach worked from home. He was able to work from home with his sales job.
Good. So he was home to be supportive. And so when did he struggle with mental health early on? Did you know? Were there signs that he was struggling?
He struggled with mental health his entire adult life. And it was something that I knew was there, but I didn't know the extent of it. And I'm not sure even he understood the extent of it. And it was very cyclical in nature. So we just knew, like after the winter, like seasonal affected things, that the spring would bring his anxiety out or his depression. And then he would get on some medicine and get it under control. And then it seemed like it would go away for a little bit, but it was always there.
So then would he get off medicine?
Yeah.
Okay. And have you struggled with mental health, or you don't really, or that hard to say? Is that hard to say? Probably.
No, I don't think that it's hard to say. I think that I was depressed in college. Like not living healthfully. Like if you're out partying all the time, you're not sleeping, you're not taking care of yourself.
Yeah.
Like I think that sort of lifestyle naturally lends itself to just feeling not your best.
100%. Yeah.
So I don't know if I was in the most clear-headed space to recognize that in Zach. I kind of figured we would just outgrow it all together.
Yeah.
And we didn't. So I will look back on journals. I love journaling. And I have looked back at journals from that time, and I'm shocked by the things that I wrote.
Really?
And the awareness that I had, and I don't even remember it. So Zach, we found out in the last 3 years of his life when things were getting super intense, was that he had borderline personality disorder. So it goes beyond the mood disorders of anxiety and depression and those things. It really is, something is different and wired in your brain with your social relationships and things. But when we first heard those words, it was new to me until I looked back at journals from when my kids were 3 and 1, or maybe even 2 and a baby. And I had whole pages of notes about borderline personality disorder.
Really?
Yeah.
Like borderline, like those words.
Oh, yes. And like treatment options, signs of it,
So you were already thinking.
Yes.
Now, is that something you're born with? Do you develop it? Do they know?
I don't know.
Okay.
I wouldn't even feel comfortable saying, because
Yeah.
I know that they say it's something that develops, but
Okay.
I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I am not qualified
Okay.
to do that.
Right. That's okay. Okay. So he's diagnosed with borderline personality disorder.
Well, and actually, you can't get diagnosed. He was never formally diagnosed because it's such a like doctors really take it seriously and want to pay attention to a patient for years before they diagnose it, and
Okay.
it's very hard to diagnose. So there's not written on any charts that he had it or anything like that. But you just kind of all agree that this is what it is and treat it.
And
with therapy and
he
medicine.
agreed?
He did for a period of time.
What are the signs and symptoms of that?
You know what? I printed it all out.
That's
It's
okay.
right back there to see. Just like feelings of emptiness and worthlessness and like anxiety and depression, like self-sabotaging behavior, obsessive thoughts. And anybody watching this could be like, well, that's not one of them. It just like that kind of thing, like very characteristic. I don't know.
That's okay. Okay. So you all agree for a short period of time, this is what it is. He starts therapy. What is the treatment for that?
Finding medicine that helps with symptoms of anxiety and depression and therapy. And doing like dialectal behavior therapy, DBT, and cognitive behavioral therapy. We did couples counseling. He did individual counseling. I did individual counseling. We had spiritual direction through our church. We did a lot.
Yeah. Sounds like it. So at what age were your kids when he got diagnosed? Do you know? Little.
Yeah, because it was after COVID. So they were second kindergarten. I mean, maybe third, fourth grade is when things started really happening.
Was he there and present for your family? Or was he just trying to figure his mental health out? Did he bury himself in work? Like...
He was around, and when he felt good, he really wanted to be a part of the family. But there were these different periods of time where it was just too hard for him. So he started pulling away, and it was just like a natural, slowly progressing thing.
Did your kids notice? They say, Mommy, what's wrong with Daddy?
No, because we talked about it openly
good.
anyway, like
Good.
from the beginning.
Right.
Like we would talk about, and he would say it too, about having anxiety or having worries or, feeling sad, because knowing that he had this, I made a conscious decision on my own. And then he and I talked together that it was going to end. We were going to break the cycle of not talking about mental health.
I was going to say, actually, because in our, we're 41 years old and we grew up in the era of where we didn't talk about it. Kids didn't really go to therapy.
Yeah.
Lots of divorces happen in homes and, those things weren't addressed. But now we're living in an era where they are talked about.
And I don't fault anybody from any other generation that it wasn't talked about, because people didn't have the vocabulary.
Right.
They're just, who are they going to talk to? Because if there isn't a collective way to discuss it, how can you?
Yeah, no, I'm not blaming anybody.
Right.
I'm just saying it's yeah, I agree with you. They didn't, and I'm not blaming my parents or their parents or anyone else. I'm just saying, thankfully now we're at a different place and we want to continue that because mental health is continuing to be a very important topic. A lot of people are becoming more open about it. Because of screens, kids now are growing up to be anxious. I mean, as if our generation isn't anxious.
Yeah.
But it's much more of a problem now. And so I think if we can talk about it and talk about prevention. And so he tried medicines. Did he ever go, and by the way, was his childhood like good? Was there a lot of trauma? Nope. Okay. Did he ever try, and if you don't feel comfortable answering this, that's okay. But I do want to mention that these are options for people that struggle with mental health issues, concerns, not issues, concerns, mental health in general, like ketamine or ECT or any of those psychedelics.
No, not psychedelics. Ketamine, I think there was one treatment, but the next thing that was on the table was ECT. And just didn't happen. Like, it was a really hard hurdle for him to cross over because he was so afraid of losing his memory. And by the time that we had gotten to that point, like, there was a lot of paranoia and I can't say this word very well, catastrophizing, where he thought that if it happened, the world was just going to fall around him. And it was really scary.
Yeah.
And so he didn't get that. And I wonder, because I know there's been a lot of people that have had success with ECT.
I think the success rate is 90%. And for those of you that don't know, of those two things we're talking about, ketamine, I'll ask you to just look into it if you're currently struggling with severe anxiety or depression and you've tried all the other things. Ketamine can be done very safely and is successful for a lot of people, and ECT is kind of the last resort Hail Mary. However, it is very, very successful. It was much more barbaric back in the day. Now it is it is a much gentler approach than it used to be. So if you are struggling, there are things you can do. So you can absolutely look those things up and DM me if you have any questions about either, because I have researched a lot of that stuff. Was your husband, did he eat healthy, drink a lot of water, get exercise? Did he do all of that kind of thing?
Off and on. I mean, I love exercising and I love like a holistic approach to things. And so I'd be like, did you get your sunshine today? Did you go for your walk? Did you do all of these things? And it's when somebody is depressed, it is so hard to get up.
100%.
And short of me throwing him over my shoulder and throwing him on the front porch, like what can you do? You
can't. Yeah. When you're in that state. I mean, I've been super depressed. 2025 was a really bad year, and you can't, there's nothing you can do. It's in your brain it's the chemicals and the wiring of your, it's it's horrible. And you're right, sometimes you can't get out of bed.
And it's a powerful skill. So one of the things I love talking about now with people is establishing habits and working on yourself before stuff hits the fan. So,
because it will.
So that when it does, you already have these habits in place and that to go outside every day, to move your body and you're going to do it whether you feel like it or not. Like you get beyond your feelings for things and you're able to almost like see yourself objectively. And when you have mental illness, that's so hard to do, to kind of hold yourself at arm's length or to hold your feelings at arm's length and say, I see that this is depression, and I see that that's there. I'm not going to let it run my life. I'm still going to do these things that make me feel better. And Zach could not get over those humps. So by the end, he wasn't really doing much in the way of all the basic things that are helpful.
Self-care, probably. So, and what's your state of mind as you're raising these 4 children and managing the home and have a husband who has a mental illness that is not seeming to get better? How is your mental health? What were you thinking? How were you taking care of yourself? What resources did you reach out to or have? Or
well, like I said, I already knew how to do certain things, but I really relied on my faith and decided that I was going to go there. because it was impossible. I
Right.
mean, it's impossible. One person cannot do that.
I was going to ask, did Zach have faith? Was he, had have a relationship with Jesus or have believe in God?
Yes, he
Okay.
did.
Okay.
And so, like as a family, we would go to church. We prayed morning, noon, and night together. We had routines of like faith was integrated into our family. And I don't know so much about his own personal, like when he was sitting in his own head, how comfortable he felt with his faith. But he tried, like he was willing, he wanted it, so he did retreats and things like that and was a part of the men's club. And there's a wonderful group of guys at our church who took him in, and he was a part of that.
Awesome.
That walked with him.
Yeah.
So I think that the big thing that helped us was our community, and our church is amazing. And it's a big church, but there's so many opportunities to get connected with people. And that's the other thing about depression and mental illness is that when you shine light on it, it makes things easier. But you have to have a community to like rally around you and to help you when you do that. You have to build the community though. Like community doesn't just show up. You have to make an effort.
Well,
in
you
advance.
have to show up.
Right. Exactly. It's a mutual thing. Like you have to be the one to go out there. And I always said trying to meet mom friends was like blind dating because you'd go to the park and meet somebody and your kids kind of get along and you kind of like each other. And so like, can I get your number?
Yeah.
Like, that's just what I did through our mom's group, through volunteering at school and volunteering at church. So the groundwork was laid that when Zach had finally died, it was crazy.
The support
that we had swoop around us. But what's funny is, so that's when he died, but the entire time he was sick, we didn't tell anyone.
Well, right.
And even in the very beginning, one of his things that he struggled with was like addictive behaviors, whether it was always eating a lot of food or maybe not eating any food at all and losing a lot of weight, or loving Powerball tickets. He bought so many Powerball tickets, or gambling, alcohol abuse. He had these addictive behaviors. And when I would try to share about them, like, oh, that's just what people do.
That was his response.
Or even people that like,
oh,
reaching out to maybe family members or saying, well, that's just what marriage is. And I'm like, I don't think so. But when that's the response that you get when you reach out for help, it kind of shuts you down.
Of course.
And then Zach also wanted it to be his story. He said, this is my stuff to share, not yours. And that's, I think probably a lot of families can relate to that, because when it is somebody else's depression or anxiety and they don't want people to know about it. And I wanted to respect that, but then
it affects you and your whole
my
house.
story
Correct.
is still part of that.
It is.
So
a big part.
So while I was doing things that were helpful, I also ended up developing an autoimmune disorder, inflammatory bowel disease, like 7 years ago. And I always knew it was from the stress. Always.
Yeah, I'm sure.
But the doctors didn't care. They want to manage my symptoms and make sure I don't like bleed out and die. And because people can die from having ulcerative colitis. So I was on medicines. I had a doctor that told me I should try being vegan because that would be helpful. So I was vegan for a couple years.
How'd that go?
It was fine. I ate a lot of vegetables. I'm only starting to eat vegetables again because I was like, there were so many vegetables and so much tofu. But even I tried gluten-free for a while, and I was so excited when gluten didn't make a difference. And then finally, like with regard to the autoimmune disease, once Zach died and I knew that he was safe and I didn't have to worry about him anymore, it went away.
Seriously?
And so I was on an infusion, and I kept trying to talk my doctor into letting me stop the infusion because I just knew in my gut, pun intended, that it was fine, and he was not on board. So I had to leave that practice, and I found another doctor. And in that interim between leaving the one doctor and starting the other one, it was like a 4-month lapse. So I thought, my goodness, it actually better be getting better because I'm going to go now 4 months without my infusion. And sure enough, like.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. And it really does point to the effects of stress on your body. So I had developed an autoimmune while Kyle was sick as well. That will be with me for the rest of my life. So I understand, personally what stress can do to your body.
Yeah. And I've even noticed, like, in the past 3 months since I've started dating, which I think is funny, but I have noticed that there'll be times when if I'm not taking care of myself or if I'm tired or whatever, that the symptoms will like just start ticking back up. And I know, like, my body is so good at telling me, something's not right, you need to fix it. And so then I can, and it's really cool.
Awesome. So how were your kids throughout his, as daddy's starting to get sadder and sadder and withdrawing from the family? How do you handle that? Like, and how did the kids react and respond?
I don't know, because I haven't really ever thought about it.
Right.
Objectively.
Yeah. And also it's your life, so you don't know if, I understand what you mean by that.
And I think that we handled it as well as we could because we talked so much about it, and I didn't want it to be hidden. So if daddy was really sad or tired, or like, we would just talk about it. And I feel like that's the only way that you can handle it.
Right.
And my kids are all so different, so they might share their stress in a different way. But just trying to meet them wherever they were at. Like, if one kid would throw a lot of tantrums and was very angry, or the other one withdrew a lot, just trying to meet them where they were at. But to do that, like, I had to be okay. Yeah, there was just so much to manage.
So much. I mean, I can only imagine. And was Zach, did he had he talked about, ending his life or harming himself, or did, you know what I mean? Were there like signs along the way?
He always said that he never would.
Okay.
And yet, when we would visit with the psychiatrist and they would ask about, because suicidality is one of the 7 or 8 things of borderline personality disorder, he'd say, "Oh, no, I'm not suicidal." And yet I knew he thought about death a lot.
Did you talk about it?
No, he didn't tell his doctor that. And I would say, "Well, what about the fact that you say, oh, I'm not going to do it because I want you guys to get life insurance, or I want," like, whatever he would say. I'm like, yeah, but you're still thinking about it. But it's hard too then when you go to the doctor with somebody who's ill and they don't tell.
Right.
And it can't make them.
But you knew at home he'd talk about it. He'd talk about death. And life insurance, I mean, so you guys got him life insurance?
Yeah, we had life insurance. We got it as soon as Meg was 1. We finally did, and our life insurance agent, we got like a separate thing, and he told us, whatever work offers you, this is my like thing to everybody, whatever work offers you, max it out. Because really, like, HB had great life insurance that was super cheap, and so he's just like, max it out every chance you can get. And so we were able to get life insurance in the end. So that's why I get to stay home for now, and that's why it's so important to not have to worry about money. So at least while everything is settling,
the dust is settling,
you don't have to worry about working.
Right. Paying your bills.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to talk about, when did you know that the end was coming? Like, you mentioned he moved out, correct?
Yeah,
Like
we had him staying, his parents who still live in Joplin had rented an apartment like a mile from our house so that they could come visit more often
because he was sick.
No, just because my children are their only grandchildren. And so we thought that it would be fun for them to have an apartment where they could come and stay longer instead of,
Absolutely.
I mean, like maybe a week or two a month. So they had that apartment and it only just happened to work out. I mean, it was God's timing that was there because it became unsustainable for him to be in our house.
Just too disruptive?
He just wasn't okay. He was so worried all the time and would follow me around the house worried about everything. And I mean, that's not healthy for me. So one of the big things, I've read a lot of books. I read a lot. I follow a lot of therapists, watch a lot of podcasts, and the boundaries books. Have you ever read the boundaries books and things?
I have them all.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So those became super important to me because it helped make sense to this concept that I had in my brain. But I was like, oh, yeah, that's what I want to do. So once I started setting boundaries, things escalated.
Because the only people that don't like boundaries are the ones who cross them.
Yes. And I think that there was an element of codependency on my part in our relationship that I had to learn about and I had to be able to deal with. And when I then just started setting those boundaries and saying, like, this has to stop, it's not healthy for me, things got much, much worse, which is a hard thing to say out loud if there's somebody that is in a situation like mine. But I think it goes along with shining light in the dark places, and things might get worse before they get better, but having the bravery to shine the light on it. Because once we started telling people, once people really understood how sick Zach was.
How did that happen? How did that start to get out?
Just different incidences that just happened to play out.
Like in public?
With my parents, we were on vacation and something happened that my parents realized. And then once Zach was hospitalized, like in the year, like all of 2024 was really hard because he was hospitalized 2 times. And then that's when he moved into his parents' apartment and they finally got to see what it was like.
Because would they come up and stay with him or he was staying by himself?
No, they came and stayed up with him.
Oh, good.
Yes. His mom was around a lot and his dad was going back and forth too.
Praise God for supportive parents.
But it was just, I don't even remember where I was really going with all of that.
Well, I had asked how, like, for your children, like it was disruptive. And so you mentioned that he moved out. And so we were talking about him moving out and
yes. Okay.
What
so
led to that.
I don't think that it was disruptive for my kids necessarily because it got calmer like when Zach had moved out. You know, it was like an element of just like, okay, now we can get into a groove.
And what were you thinking at that point? Or are you just living day by day?
Living day by day, but I really had hope until the very end that he would get better. And I think, like when we were talking about my mindset and how I got through things, when I promised to marry Zach, I meant that I was going to be married in sickness and in health. Like that's what marriage meant to me. And I knew it didn't mean that I put myself under or made myself miserable doing it. Like, that's why I asked him to move out, because I knew I needed to be safe, like setting parameters, but I would have forgiven anything. Like, I loved him so much because I know how good he is and I know how good every person is in their core. It's just sometimes there's like protective barriers they put up or whatever mechanisms that they have just start becoming more self-destructive than helpful. Like, do you know interfamily or what is it called? Systems. Have you heard of that?
I've heard of it.
Okay. So that's how I would think about Zach, is like he had his core self, but then he just had all these other elements of his personality that were trying to protect him. But in the end, they were not helpful at all. So I would have forgiven anything if he had gotten better. And I lived with that hope every day until he died.
Now, are there like treatment centers? Could he have gone somewhere?
I don't know.
Because there are for like, people that are addicted to things. And I just wonder if there's got to be somewhere for people to go. I don't know.
I think that when it comes to personality disorders, there's a lot of room for learning and research and developing options, because it really is brutal.
Do you have it in you to do that, to start something, to be an advocate, or you kind of just...
I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, it was really bad.
Yeah. And you're still fresh out.
Right. And I honestly, like I was a part of like a group. I even did a class. It was called Family Connections, where you learn about the different skills like DBT and CBT and ways to relate to somebody who has this personality disorder. And they're helpful skills anyway with any interpersonal relationship. But like, I'm not a part of that group anymore. Like, I don't listen to the message boards because to hear people in the throes of it with their loved one that has it is just too much, because it is so hard.
I can't imagine. Were your kids in counseling? Are they in counseling?
They have tried, but
yeah,
we haven't really clicked with any therapists yet.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's okay. You do not have to answer this.
Okay.
I don't even know if I want to ask it, actually. Do you talk about how he passed?
Only... So I knew how he died right away. But I told my kids that Daddy died and we don't know how yet. And so we let it sit, and I said they're going to do an investigation and we're going to find out later. And so for Zach's funeral, I didn't hide that he had died by suicide, but I didn't want to use that word. So when I talked with our priest, Father Bear, and how we talked about it, we used language so that everybody could tell that had experienced it, but that the kids didn't yet. And I knew consciously that I did not want to use the word suicide until I had been able to talk with all 4 of my kids. And my youngest was 6. Like, how do you talk about that to a 6-year-old,
right,
much less a 9, 11, 13-year-old? So it sat for months. And my mantra for that past year had kind of been, wait a minute. And it was either, maybe it was a minute, maybe it was weeks, maybe it was months. But anytime I felt like I had to have a conversation or make a choice, I didn't make it, but not to be willfully ignoring it, but just to let it develop and give the Holy Spirit space to move. And it worked out so well every time. And one day we were coming home from school and my youngest yells from the back seat, "Hey, Mom, how did Dad die? Because we think you know and you're just not telling us."
I'm so glad other people didn't tell them or accidentally slip or...
But, and I was pretty open. I think when it comes to... Actually, I wonder if we had a very special situation in that we were protected from a lot of ugliness. Like, I have a group of girlfriends whose husbands also died by suicide, and I'm floored by the things that people have told them and said to them and been insensitive about. And we didn't encounter that at all. And so, yeah, it's great that no one talked to my kids about it beforehand, unless they didn't. My kids haven't told me yet, hid that story. But we sat in my car and we talked about it. And it's been a part of our conversation this whole entire time.
A year and a half since he's passed.
Yeah.
And how did they take it? What did you say?
Well, so they it was funny because in my wait a minute pause, two things that had happened that already started the suicide conversation. So the first one was my kids love Hamilton, and it was like on all of the time. And in the beginning song, they say that Alexander Hamilton moved in with his cousin, and then his cousin committed suicide. And in the play, they show some character standing there making the motion of hanging himself. And we talked to it, like one of the kids brought it up and was like, oh my gosh, like that's terrible. Like, making assumptions, or I can't even remember what it was, but they were kind of off in how they thought about it. So then we started having a talk about suicide then that they didn't realize. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. And then later on around Easter time, when we watched the Passion of the Christ and Judas hangs himself. And so the kids were like, oh, see, that's why Judas went to hell. And that was a helpful conversation with me to start telling them that, well, no, that's not what the church teaches. Like, that's not true. And if somebody is going to die by suicide, they are for sure not in their right mind.
Right. They're ill.
Yeah. So I got to establish those facts. Like, one, we believe in the endless hope of God's grace and mercy. And then that somebody that does that is not thinking correctly. So then after he said, how did he die? And I said, you're right. Daddy made it so that he couldn't breathe. And then he died. And that's all I talked about how he died. And then I said, but remember how different Daddy acted before he died? And then they all started chiming in with their stories of like, oh yeah, like this happened and this happened and this happened. I said, he wasn't acting like Daddy even a little bit. And they all agreed, and that's just kind of how it went.
It sounds like you did a beautiful job.
Yeah. Thank God for the Holy Spirit. Because how do you even have, like, I had no idea what I would say to them.
I mean, how would you, I mean, that's the conversation you never want to have with your children. Well, it sounds like you did a beautiful job. And, you know, how are the kids today?
I think we're doing beautifully.
Good.
I think that everybody has their own appropriate growing up pains, or, you know, but that's kind of hard as a widow. You know that it's hard to look at your kids and see what they're going through and say, is this normal? Is this more? What do I need to do? And to always be so hyper vigilant and attentive can be exhausting, but it's worth it. And that's when it helps to have a really strong community around you to be able to get gut checks from the people around you.
Now, did anyone in his family struggle with personality disorder, depression, anxiety? Like, was this?
No, I don't think the personality disorder is not, I don't know where that came from.
Okay.
But I mean, I think that it goes up into his family line a little bit, that it was present, that he inherited some things.
That's what I was wondering. And then are you seeing any of that? I mean, it's hard to say, your kids are so young.
Right.
And they lost their father.
Right. And even if I did, like, so this is where that goes along with my story or their story. I do feel like, because like with Zach's family, that's not, you know, like, they wanted to talk about it. They could talk about their own experiences with mental health, you know,
Right.
and when it comes to my kids, if people ask me about their mental health, I am going to be locked down.
Yeah.
Unless we needed to.
Right.
Like, really find somebody that we trusted. Because I think about it the same way that I think about them on social media. Like, I purposely don't share my kids' faces on social media or really talk about them, because I do want them to know they have agency over their own story. And that I'm there for them with that.
Right. Yeah. That's beautiful. It really is. Wow. So after he passed and you had his funeral and the dust settled, were you just like, whoa, like the aftermath?
Kind of, but his death did not feel like the climax of the story. It felt like relief. And I shared that on that I forget what it's called, but like the National Family Alliance of Borderline Personality Disorder, whatever it's called. I shared with them that it did feel like I could just breathe because then I wasn't worried about him anymore. And I gave Zach's eulogy at his funeral because I didn't think that anybody else could do it justice, which might sound kind of type A of me, but everybody that knew him growing up that really knew what we called like the real Zach never got to experience him being sick. And then our community, all of my friends and everybody that swooped in to help us never got to know a healthy Zach. Like I really was the only one that got to see both sides of it.
I mean, you've known him almost his whole life.
Yeah. And so to me, I knew when he died that he was able, now that he was finally disconnected, like his body was left behind and his soul then wasn't constrained by his brain that was broken. And he was able to connect with God on a level that I don't even understand. I know he was able to finally just be Zach after he died. And so I know that he's taken care of. And it felt so great to know that. And even my son said that at one point when he wrote a letter for a school entrance exam. He said, it's just nice to know that my dad's in heaven and he's okay now.
Yeah.
And so that's how we've operated. Talking about dad as much as we can, but also not like obsessing over it. Like I don't make it so we have to talk about it all the time.
Right. But if it comes up, it's just a normal conversation. It's fluid and natural. And yeah, well, it sounds like you're doing an amazing job. Now around suicide, you know, some people, I've heard people say it's selfish.
Yeah.
When you hear that, you've heard that?
Oh,
surely.
yes.
What is your response?
They have no idea what they're talking about.
No idea.
None.
Agreed.
I actually thought about that. So every morning I sit and I pray a rosary, which anybody, like I have it right here. Like
every morning you get up early for the kids?
Yes.
Good for you. Amazing.
Done it for years. And I grab my coffee and I pray my rosary. And that's when I get into my feelings and I meditate and I talk. And I had this whole conversation with myself and God about the selfishness of suicide. And it sucks because it shows your ignorance.
Because it's an illness.
Yeah, but also the pain that people are in when they have such intense depression or treatment-resistant depression is, like what Zach had, or anxiety that makes it hard to get up every day. And when you think it's not going to end because you do keep trying treatments and you do keep being open to getting better and it doesn't, like,
right.
That's really hard. And then to be able to support those people day in and day out and be able to walk with them in that is a lot. And I don't know if there's a lot of help out there for family of people who have that bad of depression, because we want to prevent suicide and we want them to know that life is worth living. But there's still going to be that interim period then when it's still hard and they need people to walk with them and just be in the trenches. And it's hard.
Like with the families.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know how else you'd say it. I mean, it's just hard.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice or anything you would tell people because of your journey and what you've been through? Maybe, to any of the spouses, do you have any advice that you wish you would have heard or learned or?
No, just like what I was going back to before about working on yourself. You can't help anybody. It's like the life mask on an airplane. Like you have to put yours on first before you can help somebody else. And to start the journey of getting to know yourself and figuring out like what you like to do for exercise, making sure you're eating good food, making sure you're praying or being spiritual in some way. Like, I don't know if you have to believe in God. I think God's great, but maybe you don't, but there is something bigger than you. And you just have to make the time to help yourself. Otherwise you cannot be there for somebody that's really struggling.
Right. The old "you can't pour from an empty cup" saying. And I'm with you. I absolutely believe there is a God, and I believe God creates all of us and brings us to this earth. And I think we all have a purpose. He wants us here for a reason. And we're all in this together. We're all interconnected and doing this together. And life is hard for everybody. You know, things come up. And your trauma is different than my trauma. And, you know, there's no need for comparison. You and I have talked about this. Yeah. People are like, oh, I've never, you know, I could never go through what you went through, or you had it way worse. And it's like, you know, I know you have comments about that. You have thoughts about that.
Yeah. No, I think that everybody's hard is hard. Like, it feels hard for you. And I do think that whatever happens, like, I have so much faith that God is never going to let me down. And that's why I can wake up in the morning. And I think that you can approach any level of hardness with that same amount of faith. I don't want people to see like, oh man, her life was really hard. I shouldn't feel bad right now, or I shouldn't feel this way, or man, I should buck up. Like, well, no.
Right.
You can learn something from what is happening. You can be angry about it if you want to be angry. Like, have your feelings, get through it all, and just treat it with respect, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's right. Because everyone has some sort of hard.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. And comparison is a thief, right? There's no need to compare. And, you know, I am a health and wellness coach, and I believe this for a long time, but this all ties into treating yourself, you know, having the self-care. And God gave you this beautiful life and this beautiful body, right? So we all do have an obligation to treat it right? And he created the sun and the moon and trees, and for us to go out and enjoy it. And you are healthier when you're out enjoying that. Yeah. And you are healthier mentally and physically when you feed it well and you drink water and exercise. And I think that ties into everything.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I tell my friends. I'm like, Kristin, you're a nut because you run so much. And I just love running, but it also helps me so much. Like, Saturday mornings have always been the time when I can run. And I mean, I run throughout the week too, but when the kids were little, like, Zach would be like, all right, like, it's daddy kid wrestle time, while I got to go out and do my runs. And I think that when you find the movement that you really like, it changes your life. And no one has to be a runner. Go be a walker. Go play pickleball. Go spin. Do
Find
Pilates.
Something.
Go
I always
fight.
say that.
I mean,
yes.
For every kind of person, there is a way to move your body. And when you find it and it clicks, it changes your life.
100%.
Because then it sets you on this path of where then you realize if you eat food that fuels you, then suddenly those workouts feel even better.
They feel great.
You're like, oh my gosh, like, that works. And so then it's like that habit stacking, you know, like, is it the Atomic Habits, that book or whatever, you know, like, once you start doing something, you realize, oh, this habit's going to help. And then, oh, wait, actually, maybe I want to go to sleep and take care of my sleep habits. Right. And then, like, it just puts you on this path of growth and peace. That's so fun. I mean, life is really fun.
It's beautiful.
It is a crazy adventure. And
yes,
my girlfriend and I were talking, because I think this is kind of how I've approached dating and how I've approached just life lately after getting out of this fog of grief, that you can wake up every day and who knows who you're going to meet.
Right.
Who knows what experience you're going to have. I mean, even meeting you and doing this podcast for sure just like came out of nowhere. And it almost feels reckless maybe, because it's like, well, what if something bad happens?
What
if? I mean,
what if something really good happens?
I have looked into the darkness and the abyss, and I've still come back. Like, God has never abandoned me. So how could I not just be so excited about every day?
Well, you're a beautiful example of, you know, a very strong person. I'm sure tons of people tell you that, and you're like, I get it. People tell me that too.
So rich.
Yeah, right. Like we have to be. What other choice do we have, right? We have children. God has blessed us with children, and He's given us these stories, these husbands for a reason, and chose us.
Yeah.
I do have a couple things I want to touch on here. Okay. First, sleep and mental health. That is huge. I don't think people realize that. There's a lot of people that do not get enough sleep.
Right. But also it stinks. Like, I haven't slept really well. I don't know. Is it like everyone talks about perimenopause?
Yeah.
You know, like I've started waking up now earlier. And so I'm getting less sleep. But maybe I'm just turning into an old lady that needs less sleep. I don't know.
Yeah, we are. Yes. But going to bed early.
Yeah.
Is huge, and not looking at screens. I mean, that's
like choosing to put your phone down.
Choosing to put it down, and screens are, and I'm on my phone all the time. It's where my work is. It's where my social is. It's where my everything. I need to be putting my phone down more for sure, but I don't look at it before bed. But screens in and of itself are absolutely affecting the mental health of our nation. So I'm very strict about sleep for my kids and for myself. And, I've learned over the years when I started having children and wasn't getting sleep, it did affect my mental health big time. I had bad postpartum
and that's
anxiety.
why I say it stinks though when people do have, it's like what comes first, like when they're just have insomnia for some reason. Right. And then all of a sudden you're just like,
which is it? But it goes back as long as sleep is a foundation, and there are things that can help you sleep. Yeah. There are lots of different things you could be doing, things you could be taking, things you could be listening to. Yeah. There are things. So I wanted to just touch on that because I think sleep is underrated. And then I wanted to touch on dating. There was one other thing. I can't remember. Okay, dating. Let's talk about it.
Okay.
So you're open. The door's open.
Yes.
Okay.
It's been a hilarious adventure. And I feel like it's been a gift to my high school self and my college self to go back and be like, just let's have fun now. And so when I was going on dates, I wasn't doing it to seek validation from anybody else or for them to tell me, like, I know I'm a catch, so to go out and meet people and just want to hear their stories and to see like, what their story is. And like, let's just have fun, because I'm like not ready to get married right. Or maybe I am. I don't know. Who knows? But I know that I am not qualified enough to make that choice right now.
Right.
So it's just been a lot of fun to meet people and be open.
Yeah.
And really like a lot of great guys.
Yeah.
That have all taught me something, even if I only went on like one coffee or, a couple coffees or whatever.
Right. Yeah. It can be fun.
And it's exhausting. It is exhausting.
Well, that's where you have boundaries and you're picky about who you go out with, and you have your standards, right? Like it's not easy. And for any widow, most widows, I shouldn't say all widows, and I can't speak for everybody. Yeah. Like we all have hilarious stories, and sometimes we feel like we're ready and we're not ready.
Yeah.
Right. And then we learn real quickly, and then sometimes we are ready, and there's nobody. It's crickets. Yeah. Right. So anyway, that could be a whole nother podcast.
Right.
But anyway, so we'll leave that there.
Okay.
What are you going to do? Have you thought about doing things to keep your husband's legacy alive? The good before he was ill, the good, amazing man that you married, the father of your children, to keep that part alive and have that be the discussion,
When he first died, I was super passionate about making sure, like, all of his buddies came up from Joplin, and it was so great to have them there. And so I know the seed is planted that I want to do, like, have people write letters and have a book. Because Meg was super upset that she wasn't going to get to know her dad. She was 13 when it happened, and it's like, well, now I don't get to hear all those stories. When growing up is fun because you get to hear about your parents being numbskulls when they were little and the silly things they did and listen. So to like have those guys write something down.
Oh, that's a good idea.
And then make a book about it, or even like host a party and do the video, like have a video booth set up so that everybody could just share their stories is something I definitely want to do.
That is amazing.
But it hasn't happened because the summer after he died was too much.
Right.
And then, I mean, maybe I could do it this summer. That's definitely what I want to do.
Well, there's no rush, right? When you feel like that is amazing. I'm totally going to do that.
Yeah.
Because Kyle had tons of amazing friends throughout his life.
Yeah.
I mean, you should have seen his funeral. I mean, when he was on hospice, literally 8 of his friends flew up to be there and were there with us in the hospice house.
Yeah.
And they totally let him like crash on the couch, which is like not okay. But I mean, I will never forget who was there and never forget, and Kyle knew they were there, right? Even though he was on his way out, he knew. But my kids would love to hear stories.
Yeah.
That is such a good idea.
And to be able to keep looking back at it. So I want to do that, but
I love that.
But I don't know. And I think that we're in the process of still keeping his memory alive because that was one of the worries of my kids when I was dating. They're like gung-ho. They're ready.
They are?
They think it's hilarious.
That you're dating?
Yeah. And one of the questions, though, was, well, what am I going to call this person when you end up? I'm not going to introduce them to my kids or it's got to be a super special person. And I said, well, I don't call them by their first name. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not replacing dad.
Right.
And they said, what? I go, I'm not replacing daddy.
Yeah, he's your
Daddy's your daddy.
Right.
This is just my partner to help me do life.
Right.
Like, because life is hard and I want a friend to do it with.
Right.
And so I think that was kind of mind blowing to them. And we're like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
And just making sure that they know daddy's not going anywhere
Right.
in our lives.
Right.
He's still there.
I love that. It's beautiful. Well, any final words that you have to share or anything you want? I always ask my guests if there's one thing they want, the viewers to hear or take away. I mean, yours is there's so much.
No, I know there is so much. Well, the first thing is if there are any widows, so the Never Alone widows that we're a part of, I also am a part of Crew.
I had Cindy on.
Yeah. So that's also a great widow resource. Like we just did our Easter egg hunt with them.
Yeah, and that's in the part of town.
Like O'Fallon, like out west by me.
Yeah,
in
I'm
Missouri.
coming to speak.
Oh, you are?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then there's a small group of us that are widows by suicide. It's 4 of us now, and we're gonna one of our girlfriends is starting a podcast, so we're gonna record something, the 4 of us, to start talking about our experience.
Amazing.
Specifically, since it's pretty niche, and I think we're gonna do that in May. So maybe I can share it whenever it happens,
Absolutely.
or somebody could reach out to me if they wanted to, because we don't talk about like. The being, suicide all the time because it's just life. But since we come from this, like the same similar background,
Right.
and especially if your husband died by suicide or any spouse, you know that there is a whole life of difficulty beforehand that helps having like that common background and understanding.
Absolutely. So will it be just for women, the podcast, or are you going to open it to widowers?
We're just. Her podcast is going to be a larger thing, but we're going to have one episode where it talks about us, and then we're going to start having a group, like a resource group specifically for women.
Okay.
I think is what we're going to keep it at least for now.
Yeah.
The details are still getting flushed out.
Right.
Because you don't want like predators. I mean, man, there's like.
Well, yes, and it's very different, a female and a male, a mom and a dad. I mean, I will say here, in my opinion, there are not enough resources for widowers.
None.
Right. And I actually
need
went to
help.
my church and asked because I know of a widower. I know of a lot of widowers.
Yeah.
But I know of one in particular that's really struggling that could use the community that we have.
Yeah.
So Never Alone Widows is obviously for widows, which is females. Widowers is male. There is a group called Refugee Widows or Refuge Widows. I always say refugee. I'm so embarrassed. Okay, we can edit that part out. Refuge Widows, and they do retreats. I think they're based out of Tennessee.
Okay.
But it's a Christian organization. But here locally in St. Louis, I know there is somebody who just started something in one of our widow and widower groups, on Facebook. But there's nothing to date that I can point people to.
Yeah.
And we need that. So if you feel inspired and you're hearing this podcast and you're a widower,
Yeah. For real.
it would be really beneficial to a lot of people.
I don't know. The only thing that I just want everybody to know is that they are so loved and they are worthy of love. And that was something that was really hard for Zach to realize, that I don't care how broken you are. I don't care what you've done. I don't care about any or what was done to you. Like, you are worthy of love and you're worthy of the adventure of life. And so don't, like, I just want to, like, hold everybody's faces and tell them that, you know?
You are a loved child of God. Whether you believe in God or not, you were brought to this.
You can't get away from it.
Right.
And that if there's people in your life that aren't treating you that way, then you can walk away from them. Like, you don't have to stay in situations where people make you feel bad.
Right. Right. Oh, beautiful. Thank you so much, Kristin, for coming on. It was a pleasure having you.
Thanks for having me.
We'll be sure and tag you so that people can reach out to you with questions, if that's okay.
Yeah.
And I also do, if you have any resources or can let me know, I do want to tag some things on this podcast for people to be able to reference or reach out to if they are struggling or know somebody that's struggling. I think that'd be really important.
Yep.
So thank you so much for coming on. Well, thank you all for listening today. This again was a very sensitive subject, sensitive topic, and, you did a beautiful job. Kristin did a beautiful job talking about it. We will be back actually tomorrow at 11 a.m. I will be interviewing Dr. Keon Lim, who was Kyle's oncologist and is a pancreatic cancer researcher here at Siteman in St. Louis, who is doing some really, truly amazing things. Kyle's treatment is now in other patients. As many of you know, my husband had pancreatic cancer and battled for 17 months, but was able to get a treatment that had never been in humans, and it worked. And it is now in other patients, and it is working. So Dr. Lim is going to talk about where the research is at now, what treatments are available for pancreatic cancer as we speak, and things we're working on. He's also going to talk about what the money we've raised here as a community in Kyle's name, over $2 million for his treatment, and the progress and to help support Dr. Lim's research. So he's going to talk all about that tomorrow at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time. So please come back and watch. As always, if you're not able to catch the shows live, they do release on Thursdays on all the podcast channels or podcast platforms. So please watch, subscribe, comment, send to people you think would be inspired or, would make a difference in their lives. Thank you guys again for watching. Hope you'll watch tomorrow. Have a good rest of your day, and we'll see you soon.
What if you could start your day feeling loose, relaxed, and ready? Deep hydrotherapy right in your backyard. Relax with your family or friends, or work out with our Michael Phelps Edition Swim Spas. Worried about maintenance? We have factory-trained service nearby whenever you need it. Plus, we're here for you long-term if you have any questions or need to refill supplies. You can even test spas at our showrooms. Spas and More, A+ rated, locally owned for 20 years. We put the in spa.